Hello everyone, my name is Leah and welcome back to my channel. As you may be able to tell by my Christmas sweater, I'm going to be filming a winter book tag today. I'm going to be doing the Wondrous Winter book tag that was created by my friend Victoria, and I'll link her original video and all of the questions down below. These questions are all based on winter movies. Some of those are Christmas movies, so my Christmas sweater that jingles is appropriate, but some of them are kind of just movies that are good to watch in the winter. Also, I own a bunch of these books, but I didn't realize until I sat down to film that I didn't grab any of them, so I'm sorry. I'll just be putting the images of the books up next to me. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go grab those now that I'm sitting down. Also, I'm so happy that I can actually sit down to film. Pretty much every single video you've ever seen from me, I have been standing up filming unless I've been sitting on my bed. So it is very nice to be able to sit down while I'm filming. I feel like this is actually going to help me get a lot more filming done because it feels like so much less energy to film sitting down. I don't know why. Also, please, if you watch this, go check out Victoria's original video as well. The first question is, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, choose a book that you looked down upon until you realized what a fool you were. And this book isn't necessarily a book that I looked super down upon, but it was a book that was a really big surprise for me. Before I read it, I thought I was going to give it like 3 stars. And 3 stars can be a good rating for me, so that isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I did not realize how much I was going to love it. And that book is Lost Stars by Claudia Gray, which I read really recently, absolutely adored. It's a Star Wars book and I had bought it years ago. I think I had bought it probably like in 2015 when The Force Awakens came out, because that's when my love for Star Wars just kind of all came back. And like I said, I didn't think I was going to hate it, and obviously when I bought it I thought I was going to enjoy it, but I kind of forgot everything it was about and it sat on my shelf for like, you know, 4 or 5 years, and I just kind of lost interest. So I decided to pick it up this month in December and buddy read it with RC, and I was like, oh, this will probably be like an enjoyable book. I'll give it like 3.5 stars. And then I started it and it was so good. Oh my gosh. Claudia Gray really said, I'm going to give you childhood friends to enemies to lovers, but I'm going to make it so much more complex and complicated than that, and just that book was so good. Every time I picked it up, I wanted to just keep reading. It was so addicting, so good. I can't wait to read more books by Claudia Gray. If you are at all a fan of Star Wars, please pick it up. Even if you aren't a huge fan, if you've just seen the original trilogy, I think you can understand the book fine. Obviously, if you're a bigger fan of Star Wars, you'll enjoy the book more. But oh my gosh, please read that book. It's so good. The next question is Frozen, pick a book with your favorite sibling relationship. And first off, this question made me realize I want to read more books with sibling relationships, because I did kind of struggle to come up with an answer for this that wasn't the same answer Victoria had given in her video. So if you know of any books with really good sibling relationships, please let me know, because I'm interested in reading more. But the book I'm going to say, it isn't exactly my favorite sibling relationship, but it's just a very interesting one, and the book I'm going to say for that is Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater, and this is a sequel to her Raven Cycle series that follows one of the characters from that, Ronan, and this book focuses even more on him and his brothers and their relationship, and I think it's just really complex and interesting, and I really enjoyed the character of his brother in this way more than I thought I was going to. So that's the book I'm going to say for this question. But it isn't necessarily the healthiest sibling dynamic, it's just a very interesting one. The next question is Frosty the SnowMan, what book did you experience coming to life in your head for the first time? And I decided to really try to think back on this, and so this is going to be a book series that I loved a lot when I was like really young, and that is the Animal Arc series. I'm struggling to even remember who it's by, and honestly there were so many books, it might have been a pen name, but these were chapter books that I read when I was young, and it was about this girl, I feel like her name started with an M, Maddie? I have no idea, but she and her family ran this place where they like rehabilitated animals, and each book focused on like a different story of them rescuing animals, and I feel like this series really came to life in my head, because I think this was one of the things that really like spearheaded my love for animals when I was younger, and I always wanted to like live the animal arc stories. So I absolutely loved these when I was a kid. I feel like I haven't seen anyone else ever talk about them, so if you liked this series when you were younger, let me know. Like I said, they are like younger chapter books, so I don't know if I'd enjoy them now, but when I was younger I was obsessed with them. The next question is Cool Runnings. Choose a book where the characters are in a competition, and for this I'm going to pick a graphic novel, and that is Check Please by Ngozi Ukazu. I love this graphic novel so much. It's 2 volumes, though these did start as a webcomic, so you can read all of it for free online, and I would definitely link the webcomic down below. I have both of the volumes. I also like reading it online. The author also, before they were traditionally published, did her own self-published ones that were done through a Kickstarter, and I have the first 3 volumes of that, and she hasn't done year 4 for that yet, because there's years 1 through 4 following the main character in college, and she hasn't done the one for year 4 yet, but I think she's going to do it even though they've been traditionally published now, just so she has like that matching one for year 4. But this has competition because the main character is a hockey player in college, so all of the characters are pretty much always in competitions with their hockey team, and it's so good. The main character's name is Biddy. He's gay, he does hockey, he used to do figure skating, he bakes pies. I love him so much. Also, the relationship in this series is so cute. I love all of the characters so much. Also, this is something I really love the fandom for. I feel like the fandom is so great and has come up with just such great content. I just love Check Please so much. The next question is Home Alone. Choose a book that you read that had no fandom and you felt like you were home alone. And this is funny because the answer to the previous question was one that has such a good fandom. But for this, I'm going to say the His Fair Assassin series by Robin Lefevre. It's a trilogy, and now there's also a sequel duology, but the original trilogy is my favorite. The first book is Grave Mercy, and I know almost no one who has read this, so if you have read the series and like it, please come talk to me, because I really like this series, and I feel like absolutely no one has read it other than the person who originally recommended it to me. This is a historical fiction series, and each book in the trilogy follows a different main character, but the characters from the other books like appear in all of the books. But each of the books follows a girl who went to a convent where the convent worships the god of death, and they were trained to be assassins. So there's assassins, there's romance, there's political intrigue, it's historical fiction, there are some fantastical elements. I just love this series so much. I find it so interesting, and it takes place in like 1400s Brittany, and it's just so interesting. And I mentioned political intrigue. There's lots and lots of political aspects and like court happenings, and it's just so interesting. Please someone else read this series so I'm not alone with it. The next question is Happy Feet. Choose a book whose title was so misleading you now have trust issues. And to explain my answer for this question, I have to spoil the book. So if you don't want to get spoiled for this book, you can just skip ahead. But also, the spoiler that it is, I figured out right away. So in my opinion, it's not that much of a spoiler, but some people would definitely consider it a spoiler. So if you don't want that spoiler, you can skip ahead to after the picture of the book goes away. But that book is The False Prince. I read this book probably years ago now, like I want to say it was 4 or 5 years ago, and it has still stuck with me because the book itself is fine. Like, it was an enjoyable YA fantasy. However, the entire plot of the book is that the main character is trying to pretend to be this lost prince that disappeared years ago, and it's in first person. But the whole time, the main character is the prince who disappeared years ago, so the title of The False Prince is not accurate because he is the prince. He is not a false prince, he is the prince. And what I couldn't stand about this book is that I usually love unreliable narrator books, but this book was in first person, and it did not work for first person. Because unreliable narration can be done if there is a reason for like the character to be keeping information from whoever the story is told to, but there was no reason because who was he talking to? It was in first person, and literally from like the description of the book, from like the first chapter, I knew, I was like, he's the prince. It's very clear that he is the prince. And I just distinctly remember there was one part in the narration where someone brought up like his family dying, and the narration was something like, I had a queasy feeling in my stomach, and I was like, I'm sorry, that's the only reaction you're going to give to finding out that your family died? And I know it was trying to keep it a secret from the reader, but it was so frustrating. So I usually love unreliable narrator books, but not that one. I know some people didn't find it predictable though, and some people did like it, and other than that, I did like the book. I think other than that, it would have been like a 3.5. And I know there are sequels, so I feel like the sequels are probably better because it won't have that aspect to it, but I just could not stand that so much. The next prompt is Elf. Choose a book character who you think is a Cotton-Headed Ninny Muggin. I'm surprised I didn't stumble over my words for that, because I stumble over my words a lot and I feel like that's a tongue twister. So for this, I'm going to say one of the characters from a book that I just finished yesterday, and that is In Holidays by Christina Lauren. I know a lot of people really like this book, and I really liked the first half of the book, but there was some conflict in the second half. It was that good third act breakup that I am not a fan of. I really liked the love interest up until a certain point, and then there was some conflict that I think he was really dumb and immature about. So that's the character I'm going to say for this question. The next question is Chronicles of Narnia. Choose a character who is as self-sacrificing as Aslan. And first off, I just want to say Chronicles of Narnia is the best winter movie. I love this movie. It's a winter movie so much. It's such a good winter movie. But for this, I'm going to say Amani from With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I read this YA contemporary earlier this year via audiobook. I actually read all of Elizabeth Acevedo's books via audio, and I highly recommend the audiobooks. Amani is still in high school, and she has a daughter that she has to take care of, and she also looks after her abuela, and she is such a caring character who always has to put other people first, and this book kind of follows her own journey and her trying to work towards her dreams of cooking, and I just wish all of the best for her. I really liked Amani as a character. Next question is The Last Holiday. Choose a book that made you feel like you were going to die, and this could be of sadness, of boredom, of happiness, or whatever other emotion. And for this, I'm going to choose a happy emotion, and I'm going to choose House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. If you have watched any of my videos recently or follow me on Twitter, you know I am absolutely obsessed with this book. I've read this twice now this year. I love it so much. It makes me so happy. It just gives me so many warm, fuzzy feelings inside. And when I listened to the audiobook, and that was my first read, I literally just cried for the last like half an hour, like just full sobbing. I love this book so much. Please read it. Also, it's gay, found family, the cover's pretty. Please read it. The next question is Happiest Season. Pick a book with your favorite sapphic couple. And y'all know my brand is sapphic. So me picking a favorite sapphic couple, I don't know if that's possible. So I'll just say one that I read recently and really liked. But there are so many, and I don't think this is like my top one. I don't even know what my top one would be. There are lots of sapphic couples I love, but the couple I'm going to say are August and Jane from One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This book is not out yet. It comes out on June 1st, 2021, but I got access to an e-arc of it, and I love them so much. If you want to see me cry over them and the book, you can go watch my One Last Stop reading vlog. It is a non-spoilery vlog, but I understand some people don't even want like small details from the books, so if you don't even want that, you don't have to watch it. But there's just lots of clips of me crying because I love that book and I love the sapphics. Also, I already reread that book too. So now there's some bonus questions. The first one is Grandma got run over by a reindeer. Choose a book you'd like to run over with a reindeer multiple times. Batwoman, Volume 1, Hydrology. I buddy read this with RC, and it started out like fine, and then it just kept getting worse. Both of us were so excited to read this because lesbian superhero, Batwoman, but it was horrible. It very much felt like a lesbian character written by straight men. There's a scene where a side character was in a huge fight and got severely injured, and that scene was interspersed with a love scene between the main character and her love interest. For what reason? It just felt very exploitative. It just very, very much felt like lesbians for the male gaze. I really hated that graphic novel. I do plan on checking out some Batwoman comics in the future, but ones that are not by the creative team behind that one, because it was really bad. Now the next question is rent. Choose a book that makes you want to sing. Any kind of strong emotion will do. And for this I'm going to pick The Stars and the Blackness Between Them by Junauda Petrus, because this book makes me feel like every emotion. I love it so much. The sapphics, oh my god, the sapphics in this book are just so good. I read this for the Bibliophiles book club that I'm in, so you can go see all of our thoughts on it if you check out our live show. But I love this book so much. Please read it. It's so good. The next question is The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Choose a book or book character that makes you lose faith in humanity. And can I just say the Batwoman comic again for this, because that's all I can think of, because reading that comic both made me feel dead inside and full of rage at the same time. How do I experience both of those at the same time? I don't know, but I did. Also, the art wasn't great. It was hard to follow, and the main character, there were times where like she just looked like a vampire. Why was she drawn like this? I don't understand the reason. The next question is Ice Age. Choose a book that turned you into Scrat with his acorn, obsessive to the point of concern. I feel like this answer is not surprising to anyone, and that is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I finished it. I was completely obsessed. I immediately, like within a few days, went back, reread it again via audio this time, and then a little bit after that read the sequel, and I already want to reread both of them. I'm probably going to reread both of them soon because I am absolutely obsessed with that series, and I need book 3. I need book 3 right now. I know it's not coming out until 2022, but I need it right now. Please? I'm obsessed with the characters, I'm obsessed with the plot, I'm obsessed with the writing, I'm obsessed with like everything. Then the last prompt is Anastasia. Choose a book or even a scene from a book that gives you Once Upon a December vibes. And when Victoria said this prompt, she mentioned that that scene is a lot about Anastasia's like self-discovery and reconnecting, and so that's kind of what I went off for the book I chose for that. And the book is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, which I read recently and really loved. This is a YA fantasy that has like King Arthur retelling elements and magic and secret societies, and it's so good. I love the main character Bree, and Bree definitely does a lot of self-discovery, and there's also some aspects of the book that's about her connecting to her ancestors and things like that. I don't want to say too much else because it is spoilery, but if you've read the book you definitely know what I'm talking about. I really enjoyed this book, and I can't believe that this was a debut book because it was very impressive. It's also really long, and I didn't realize how long it was, and for a part of it I was like, why is it this long? And then I kept reading and I was like, I want more, and I can't wait for the sequel to come out. I'm so excited. But yeah, that was all the questions for the Wondrous Winter book tag. If you made it this far in the video, let's say leave me a snowflake emoji for winter, or you can leave me a penguin emoji for the penguins on my jangly Christmas sweater. I'm sorry I'm being so irritating with this jangling. This sweater just makes me happy. I don't have anyone in particular I want to tag for this, so if you are watching this, consider yourself tagged. Go ahead and do it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you later. In your head. I wish I could speak properly. And I hear kids yelling outside. Oh, now I hear a baby crying.